The Bargain with the Beast, Part 1. The encounter, the morning mist, clung to ancient pines as 5 hikers made their final preparations at the Blackwater trailhead. Maya Reyes, their de facto leader, tightened her backpack straps with practiced efficiency. At 32, she knew these mountains better than most, though today's route would take them deeper than she had ventured before. "Everyone remember the buddy system," she announced, looking at her 4 companions. "No wandering off alone, even for bathroom breaks." Lucas Porter, a gangly programmer with perpetually fogged glasses, looked up from his GPS. "According to the map, we should reach Blackwood Peak by noon if we maintain a steady pace." "That's if we don't have to stop every 5 minutes for Eli to take photos of another mushroom," teased Olivia Chen, adjusting her red bandana. The athletic physical therapist had been friends with Maya since college. Eli Wilson grinned unapologetically, camera already in hand. "Hey, I got published last month. These mushroom breaks are important scientific documentation. I'm just hoping we see that waterfall you mentioned," said Danny Alvarez, the youngest at 25. An ER nurse with an adventurous streak, she had joined their hiking group after moving to Seattle the previous year. With a final check of supplies, the 5 friends set off into the forest, following the narrow dirt path that would lead them into the heart of the mountains. The trail began gently enough, winding through sun-dappled woods. As the morning wore on, the path grew steeper and narrower. The ancient trees gave way to younger growth, evidence of a forest fire from decades earlier. "Watch your step here," Maya called back, pointing to a section where the trail had been partially washed out. The ground's still soft. As they continued climbing, the forest gradually thinned, offering glimpses of surrounding peaks. The crisp mountain air filled their lungs with the scent of pine and earth. "Hey, does anyone else smell that?" Danny asked suddenly. The others paused, lifting their faces to the breeze. "Smoke," Maya confirmed, her expression darkening. "But it's not forest fire smoke, more like a campfire." "Someone else is up here," Lucas said, scanning the woods. "That's not surprising," Eli shrugged. "It's a public trail, even if it's not well known." "True," Maya conceded, though an inexplicable uneasiness had settled over her. "But I haven't seen any signs of other hikers." As they rounded a bend, Lucas called out, "Hey, look at this!" The group gathered around where he crouched beside the path. In the soft earth was an unmistakable print, massive, with 5 distinct toe pads and claw marks. "That's a bear track," Olivia whispered. "A big one." Eli placed his hand beside the print for scale. His palm was dwarfed by the impression. "Black bears don't get this big. This has to be a grizzly." "That doesn't make sense," Maya frowned. "Grizzlies haven't been confirmed in this part of the range for decades." After deliberation, they decided to continue with heightened vigilance. They made noise as they hiked, singing and occasionally calling out, "Hey bear," into the surrounding forest. By mid-afternoon, they had gained significant elevation. The forest had thinned considerably, allowing breathtaking views of the wilderness below. Suddenly, a distant sound reached them, a low, rumbling roar that reverberated through the mountains. The trail narrowed as it followed a natural ledge along the mountainside. Maya, in the lead, rounded a bend and stopped so abruptly that Danny nearly collided with her. In the middle of the trail, not 30 yards ahead, sat an enormous bear. It was larger than any black bear they had ever encountered. Its fur a dark brown that appeared almost black in the dappled sunlight. Most disturbing was the fact that the bear was sitting directly on the trail, facing their direction as though it had been waiting for them. "Don't move," Maya breathed. "Nobody make any sudden movements." The standoff continued for what felt like an eternity. The bear remained seated, watching them with an unnerving steadiness that seemed almost deliberate. Then a deep, rumbling sound emerged from the bear, the same roar they had heard earlier, but now they could see its source. From its throat came a sound that seemed to shake the very mountain beneath their feet. Tribute came a deep, guttural sound that was unmistakably a word. "Bring tribute before nightfall." The 5 hikers stood in stunned silence, unable to process what they had just witnessed. The bear rose to its full height, towering at least 8 feet tall. It fixed them with one final stare from eyes that held an intelligence no animal should possess, then turned and lumbered into the forest, disappearing among the trees. Did that bear just talk to us?" Danny asked, her voice trembling slightly. "That's not possible." Lucas adjusted his glasses nervously. "We all heard it," Olivia countered, her usual pragmatism shaken. Part 2. The Riddle. By nightfall, they had reached Blackwater Basin, a small alpine lake nestled in a natural bowl formed by surrounding ridges. They quickly established camp, erecting their tents in a circle with a fire in the center. As darkness fell, the conversation inevitably turned to their bizarre encounter. "What about the tribute it mentioned?" Maya asked. "What do you think it meant by that?" Traditional tributes in various cultures usually involved offerings to appease spirits or deities, Eli explained. Food, valuable goods, sometimes even sacrifices. "Please don't say sacrifices," Danny muttered. A cracking sound from the edge of the clearing interrupted them. As one, they turned toward the noise, their headlamps creating overlapping circles of light that illuminated the tree line. There, at the boundary between forest and meadow, stood the massive bear. In the artificial light, its eyes reflected an eerie amber glow. "Tribute," came the same deep, rumbling voice. "Where is my tribute?" Maya stood slowly, hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "We don't understand what tribute you seek. We're travelers passing through these mountains." "The ancient law," the bear rumbled. "All who enter the high places must bring tribute. You were warned." "What kind of tribute would be acceptable?" Eli asked carefully. "We have food, medical supplies." "Not of your world," the bear interrupted. "The tribute must be of the old magic. Find it before the moon reaches its zenith, or remain in these mountains forever." With that cryptic pronouncement, the creature disappeared back into the forest. "Old magic?" Lucas's voice was higher than usual. "This can't be happening. We have less than 4 hours to figure out what tribute of the old magic means and somehow produce it," Maya summarized, running a hand through her hair. After much discussion, Danny suggested they each write reflections on how nature had transformed them, a symbolic tribute of wisdom and personal growth. They spent an hour crafting these written offerings, then burned them in the campfire. As Eli suggested, fire represented transformation in many cultures. They watched as the flames consumed their words, sending them up in smoke and ash toward the star-filled sky. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then heavy footfalls approached, and the bear emerged into the circle of firelight. It examined the ashes, of their offerings before raising its head. "Words," it growled, not unkindly, but with disappointment. "Your kind always offers words. Words are wind." "We meant what we wrote," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Intent matters, but the tribute is incomplete. The old magic requires more than thoughts set to paper." "Please," Olivia stepped forward. "Tell us what you want. We're trying to understand." The bear sat back on its haunches and spoke in a rhythmic voice. "What fills the hand but cannot be held, burns without fire, freezes untouched by snow, lighter than air yet cannot rise, heavier than stone yet cannot sink." "It's a riddle," Eli whispered excitedly. "The tribute is the answer to the riddle." "The scholar understands," the bear replied. "Find the answer before the moon reaches its highest point. Bring it to the stone circle beyond the western ridge." As the bear disappeared again, the hikers frantically discussed possible answers to the riddle. After considering many options, emotions, thoughts, dreams, time, light, shadow, Eli had a revelation. "Memory," he said with growing conviction. "It's memory." He explained, "Memory fills your mind, which you hold in your hand, but you can't physically grasp it. Memories can burn with regret without actual fire. They can freeze you in place when traumatic. They're intangible like air, but can't rise away because they're part of you. And they can weigh on you heavier than stone, but can't sink away either." "But what does that mean for the tribute?" Danny asked. "How do we offer a memory?" "Something that represents a significant memory for each of us," Maya suggested. "Connected to these mountains or to wilderness." Each selected an item. Maya chose a river stone from her first solo backpacking trip. Olivia, a friendship bracelet made during their first camping trip together. Lucas, his grandfather's compass. Eli, a pressed wildflower from his first research project. And Danny, a wooden bird carving from her father. With the moon climbing higher, they set out for the stone circle Maya had located on her map. The night was clear and cold, stars glittering overhead like scattered diamonds. Their headlamps cut swaths through the darkness as they followed a faint game trail westward. After 20 minutes of hiking, they reached the top of the ridge. Before them lay a natural clearing where a circle of standing stones, each about waist high, emerged from the ground like ancient teeth. In the center of the circle was a flat altar stone, bathed in moonlight. "This can't be natural," Lucas whispered, examining the nearest stone. "But there's no record of indigenous people building stone circles in this region." "Some things aren't in the official records," Eli replied quietly. As they approached the circle, a familiar, massive shape materialized from the shadows. The bear sat beside the altar stone, watching their approach with those unnervingly intelligent eyes. "You have found the answer," it stated rather than asked. "We believe so," Maya replied, stepping forward as their spokesperson. "Memory is what fills the hand but cannot be held, burns without fire, freezes without snow, is lighter than air yet cannot rise, and heavier than stone yet cannot sink." The bear's head inclined slightly in what might have been approval. "And your tribute?" One by one, they stepped forward and placed their memory tokens on the altar stone, each briefly sharing the significance of their item. When all 5 had made their offerings, they stepped back, uncertain what would happen next. The bear rose to its full height, towering over them in the moonlight. It placed one massive paw on the altar, covering their gifts. "Memory is the oldest magic," it rumbled. In remembering, you bind yourselves to this place, and it to you. The mountains remember those who honor them. A strange light began to emanate from beneath its paw, not the cold silver of moonlight, but something warmer, golden, pulsing like a heartbeat. It spread outward, flowing along invisible lines that connected the standing stones, until the entire circle was illuminated by this otherworldly glow. The hikers watched in awe as the light rose into the air, forming patterns and images, flashes of the mountains as they had been centuries ago, untouched by human hands, glimpses of ancient forests and creatures long extinct, visions of their own memories, not just those represented by their tokens, but others, deeper and more personal. When the light finally faded, the bear removed its paw from the altar. Their offerings remained, but they were transformed. The stone now bore a spiral pattern that had not been there before. The bracelet glowed with subtle inner light. The compass needle spun in impossible directions. The pressed flower looked as fresh as the day it had been picked, and the wooden bird seemed almost ready to take flight. "The tribute is accepted," the bear announced. "You may continue your journey through these mountains. They will know you now, and you will know them." "Thank you," Maya said simply, sensing that further words would be inadequate. The bear nodded once, then turned to leave. Before it disappeared into the darkness, it spoke one final time. "Remember this night. Tell others what you have learned here, that the old magic endures, that the mountains are not merely rock and snow, that the wilderness holds wisdom for those who approach it with respect. This is your burden now, and your privilege." Then it was gone, leaving only massive paw prints in the soft earth as evidence of its existence. The 5 hikers stood in silence, the weight of what they had experienced settling over them. The moon had reached its zenith, bathing the stone circle in silver light. Their transformed tokens lay on the altar stone, humming faintly with residual magic. "Should we take them back?" Danny asked uncertainly. Eli shook his head. "I think they belong here now. They're part of this place." After a final moment of reverence, they turned and made their way back to camp. The forest seemed different now, not threatening but alive in a way they had never fully appreciated before. Subtle whispers and movements registered at the edge of their awareness, as though the veil between their world and something older and deeper had been temporarily thinned. When they reached their campsite, exhaustion finally claimed them. They took turns keeping watch, though each sensed that no harm would come to them this night. The wilderness had accepted their tribute. They were under its protection now. In the morning, they would begin their journey back to civilization, carrying with them an experience that defied rational explanation, but that had changed them nonetheless. And in the years to come, when they returned to these mountains, as they all would, drawn by a connection that transcended ordinary understanding, the trails would seem to open before them. The weather would hold just long enough, and occasionally, in the deepest part of the forest, they might glimpse a massive shape moving between the trees, watching over the wilderness and those who remembered to honor it.